Hey everybody! So in the last video I was talking about the notion of the GC and the trines of the GC being where you could translate the stuff that you were given from the GC or whatever truth that you felt you needed to tell. That trine, that planet where the trine is, or that makes the trine with the GC is kind of how that's best able to happen. Before I continue on though, I do want to make the disclaimer that I am literally just fucking with astrology here. I am in no way, shape, or form claiming to be an expert on the GC. Lots of astrological knowledge, but this is one area that really is more of a mystery to me, and I'm literally just fucking around with ideas. So nobody hold me to any of these. And I might find in time that some of these don't actually fit. And of course, if anybody has any ideas about these or has any ideas about anything I'm about to say or has any ideas about the GC in general, let me know. I'd love to hear it. So I just want to throw that little disclaimer out first. So in the last video I made, I talked a lot about whistleblowers and about truth telling, and I do think that the GC has a lot to do with this, right? I mean, it's in Sagittarius. Sagittarius is a truth-seeking sign, right? It is. So it makes sense that the GC would have a connection to whistleblowers or to people that need to feel compelled to speak their truth, that are seeking for their truth, that even want to make their truth known. This does make sense to me. This isn't the only way one can speak their truth though, right? It's not just whistleblowing. People can speak their truth in all kinds of ways, so I don't want anybody to get hung up on the notion that the GC just has to do with whistleblowers. These are just examples of one way that this can go, right? But I don't want people thinking that that's the only thing having to do with the GC. We could also be talking about philosophers or even just people who feel compelled to speak their truth in regular life, and we don't know about them, we don't hear about them because they're not as extreme examples, right? It just really depends on what's going on in the particular chart. But the whistleblowing thing is a good example because they are more extreme examples of this. So along with the notion of truth telling, of feeling compelled to tell the truth about whatever, and maybe even having a strange relationship with the truth, because there are people that feel compelled to tell the truth or feel whatever, but maybe they don't really want to do that, but they feel compelled to do this. That also feels very, very GC like to me as well. Now, other things obviously have to do with the GC too. I know I've mentioned before, like being fed information, giving downloads, like getting downloads from somewhere else. These are also GC things. I think anybody, by the way, I think I mentioned this before, I think everybody, because the GC is going to be in everybody's chart, right? So I do think everybody has the ability to do this. Like it's everybody has this potential. I do think it is stronger though when you have conjunctions and oppositions to the GC. I think the receipt, specifically the conjunctions, though, like I've said before, the oppositions feel as important, just in a different way. But I do think that when you've got a planet involved with the GC in one of those two ways, those planets, they're really able to receive, especially the conjunction, it's really able to receive information or really able to download information, right? But I've mentioned before that the GC probably speaks a language that we have to translate. We have to translate it. It's not anything that I don't think we even have the words for it here on Earth. Like, we don't have the words for this. I really don't think we do. But we have to translate it and we have to bring it down to Earth. So that then, you know, calls into question the trines. And, you know, this would really depend on, you know, what house this is going on in. Obviously, this trine would be somewhere from, as of right now, where I'm going with in my mind, it would be somewhere from like 16 degrees Leo to 6 degrees Virgo, or 16 degrees Aries to 6 degrees Taurus. Because most people who, you know, most people that are going to be interested in, they're not going to be like 10 years old. They're going to be old. They're going to be when the Galactic Center was still in the 26 degree Sagittarius. That's why I use that for right now. But it would depend on, you know, what house that falls in, as to how, you know, what area of life that person might translate the information best through. And obviously the planet plays in, you know, what planet we're talking about will kind of show how they might translate that information. Like, let's say you've got, I don't know, let's say you've got Mars. let's say you've got conjunctions to the Galactic Center. Doesn't really matter what right at this moment, because I'm focused on the trines. But let's say you've got Mars, trine the GC. Say you've got, I don't know, the moon conjunct the GC, but Mars trine the GC. And it's in Leo. It's within that, let's say it's like a 24 degrees Leo. This might cause somebody, and let's also say it's in the sixth house. This might cause somebody to, they translate things from the GC in a very active way, in a very driven way, maybe even a very aggressive way in their daily life or in the work that they do. The things that are downloaded, you know, from the GC, they might take a more active or aggressive approach in their daily life and in their work, whatever. This could be done fearlessly. This could be done egotistically. It depends on the entire chart, but you get the idea. I hope you get the idea. Anyway, that trine to the stuff conjunct the GC and the GC itself will kind of let you know how that might be best translated by, obviously, planet, sign, and house. And even aspects that it makes itself, other than that trine. Now, I wanted to talk just a little bit about the Galactic Center too. I know I've mentioned, and I would love, oh my God, if anybody knows like an astrophysicist or a cosmologist or anybody like that'd like to talk about this, I would compensate for their time if they wanted me to. But I'd love to have a better handle on the GC, just, you know, the science of it, but also specifically the Galactic Center. You know, the way that it is described, it's near a very bright star. I think it's called Elnath. It's a super bright star. It's near this. This is a much calmer area of, you know, it is a much calmer area than obviously the GC. The Galactic Center is much calmer. But it's blinded, right? To me anyway, it seems blinded. Like anything there is blinded because this fucking star is so damn bright. Or that's kind of how I go with it in my mind. I could be wrong about this, but that's kind of where I go with it in my mind. So also this area seems to have a lot of space dust. I could be wrong about that too, but from what I understand reading about it, it sounds like there's a lot of fucking space dust. But I've seen it described like the GC is like a metropolis, and the Galactic Center is like a calm, small little town off by itself kind of, but it is very, there's a lot of space dust, and there's a lot of and bullshit, and there's a fucking bright ass star. So it feels like, but they are connected, right, by the opposition. So it does feel like things that are conjunct this point, the galactic anticenter, it does feel like the person probably can't feel it or see it or something the way that they should, or they're blinded. It's blinded somehow. It's obscured. That seems really possible. And so, you know, I mentioned in the other video, the trine to the GC, right? Trines are harmonious, right? They can get lazy, but they are harmonious. And they're easy, not always, but they're generally thought of that way. Whereas the sextiles don't get lazy. The sextiles don't get lazy. They're more creative. They're more creative. Oh, trines are very creative too. They're just more, they don't get lazy like the trine can get lazy. Sextiles don't get lazy like that. So I feel like it makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, not only the science of it, of the GC being 2/3 of the way, of the Earth being 2/3 of the way from the GC and 1/3 of the way from the GAC, but it also makes sense to me that with something, when we're talking about a sextile here from the galactic anticenter to that point, to those windows of degree that I'm talking about, it makes sense to me that that would be the creative area, since it's already blinded. It's like it doesn't need the opportunity to get fucking lazy to bring it down to earth. It needs just pure creative force, since there is like an obscuring and a blinding. These are just some thoughts I had. Just kind of wanted to toss them out there. But yeah, if you've got any ideas about the galactic anticenter, I would love to hear those. I mean, I want to hear all of your thoughts, but especially the galactic anticenter is, how it plays into this is very important to me. And I feel like it's on the tip of my tongue, but I'm not there yet. I don't know how many of y'all ever feel like that, but it's like on the tip of my tongue. But yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts. So I'm gonna get going. If you want to follow us on Instagram, you can find us at Let's Fuck With Astrology. I am at Saturn Season Astrology on Instagram. Natalie is at Apaterno Astrology on Instagram. If you want to subscribe to us on YouTube or whatever, you can search for Let's Fuck With Astrology in the YouTube search bar. If you do the Reddit thing, you want to join us on the subreddit Let's Fuck With Astrology, come on over. And if you're interested in the star cards, you can go to letsfuckwithastrology.com/star-cards. Okay, y'all. I'll see y'all later.